Welcome to the Sanity Project podcast, the place for internet technology professionals whose work-life balance plan has imploded. We are here to provide solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Here's your host, Joanne Victoria.
Hi, I'm Joanne Victoria, and I am the host of the Sanity IT Project podcast. I partner with IT pros in telecommunications, technology, entertainment, and mass media industries whose work-life integration plan has imploded and who want more success, more confidence, more fun, and more inner peace. The Sanity Project is a platform for experts in the personal development community to share their wisdom, expertise, and solutions that will help the IT pro live a sane, healthy, and prosperous life. Our guest today is Clayton John Ainger. From once being a mergers and acquisitions tax specialist with Deloittes, he is now a sought-after consultant and speaker working in the UK and internationally, where he helps senior leaders and executive teams to transform performance and achieve sustainable growth by unleashing passion, nurturing natural talent, and bringing vitality to the workforce. Based in the UK, Clayton is also an internationally recognized psychic medium, spiritual teacher, and spiritual coach. Clayton is also a 6-time award-winning author of The Ego's Code, an international speaker and creative entrepreneur. He has appeared in national magazines like Kindred Spirit, Spirit and Soul magazine, Yoga magazine, and Paradigm Shift, just to name a few. Today, Clayton is going to talk to us about stopping negativity from sabotaging your life in all areas: health, wealth, relationship, finances, and success. And he'll tell you his story about Stonehenge. Welcome to the show, Clayton John Ainger.
Thank you, Joanne. It's lovely to be here. I'm really, really thrilled to be on your show. So thank you for having me.
Well, I'm grateful that you're here because you have information that our audience must hear more than once. I've had some spiritualists, some spiritual teachers, some spiritual coaches. I don't think I've had a psychic medium, which is my fave. But this is where you need to be for me today and for our audience. So how can you help people stop negativity from sabotaging their lives?
Well, I think the first thing that people need to understand is that negative, from a spiritual perspective, negativity is not negative. It's just energy. And all energy can be transmuted from something that will either keep us stuck and living in the past, or it can be changed into something that will serve us and actually become a force for good in life. And when I'm doing my talks and running my events, I would often say to people, imagine the energy it takes to put a rocket into space. And if I then say to people, so, well, that same energy is trapped in our lower 3 energy centers. And so imagine what you could do if you could access that energy and what you could create in your life. But the challenge is that society and the old ancestors and the way that we've been brought up has made negativity bad or wrong. And so we've become conditioned to stuff it down, to sweep it under the carpet, to ignore it. And then guess what? It comes back with teeth, even harder, even stronger. And I call that the ego's playground. And so what I say to people is that wherever there is a problem, wherever there is a challenge, wherever there's a hardship or a rut in their life, there is a pattern to these things. And when we understand the pattern or the code, we can then decipher it. And so I wrote a book all about it called The Ego's Code. So when we experience negativity, it's literally a message from you to you that something's not quite right or how you think it should be. And it's something that we really need to be paying attention to and not ignoring.
Yeah, I find that myself, that when I get in a space, if I'm overwhelmed with too much to do, because I tend to overdo, I have to stop. I have to stop, go to a quiet place, and look at what I'm doing to my life because nobody else is doing it to me, and see how it works and recognize that there is a pattern. It's a consistent thing that I do. So how do you help people recognize that it's a pattern? I find that that's very difficult to do.
Well, if you look at negativity as a communication, if you look at negativity as feedback, so quantum physics has proven that we experience wholeness 7.8 times per second. It's not per minute, not per hour, not per day, per second. So what that means is that we are always in creation. So we can either create through negativity. So everything in our listeners' lives has been created by them. So the times when I was depressed in my 20s, I was depressed in my 30s, I was under the doctors, and I've sabotaged my business, I've sabotaged my health, I've sabotaged my finances. I did that to myself, and I wanted to understand why I did that. And so if we come from a stance that we are always in creation, so how do we actually create the life that we want to create? How do we get ourselves out of this negativity? And it stems from positive thinking doesn't work. Because if, for example, we need to have more money in our life or we want more love in our life, we tend to focus on that something is missing. And if we focus on the fact that something is missing, we're actually focusing unconsciously on lack. And so when we're focusing on lack, the frequency, because we're frequency beings, that literally radiates out from us is lack. And so the universe or the quantum field or the divine spiritual system, whatever you want to call it, responds and says, okay, you're thinking about lack, let's give you more of that. And a part of the challenge around this is neuroscience has proven that 95% of our time we are living in automatic pilot or unconscious. So take that one step further. There's 24 hours in a day. If we're lucky enough to have 8 hours of sleep a night, that leaves 16 hours, which means 15 of those hours we're actually on automatic pilot, not consciously making a decision or making conscious choices. And there's only 1 hour in our day that actually can be in conscious creation. So the way in which we need to work with negativity is to raise our awareness. Because every time we experience negativity, we are literally reliving the past in the here and the now. Because negativity are echoes or whispers from our past or our past lives. And so if we start to raise our awareness, which is step one that I talk about in a 4-step process, the awareness creates presence. It literally drags us from the past into the here and the now. But it's also really important to breathe, because from the human perspective or the human condition of ourselves, when we are experiencing negativity, we're often in high stress. So if we're in high stress, we are wiring and firing our neural pathways in our brain into high beta brainwave patterns. And if we're in high beta, we're in high stress. And if we're in high stress, we can't actually think clearly, let alone create the life that we want to create. And so by breathing and raising our awareness to actually what's going on within our life and negativity and paying attention, the breathing alone starts to change the neural pathways, starts to change the brainwaves from high beta to medium beta to low beta, actually down in alpha, which is peak performance. And then we can start to think clearly. So the awareness and the breath actually brings us into the here and the now. And then what we then do is we have to acknowledge and engage with our negativity. Not make it bad or wrong, just see it as data that there's something not quite right or how we think it should be. And so by engaging with it as opposed to living in it, we are then in a stronger position to be able to express our thoughts, to be able to express our feelings, to be able to share what's really going on for us in a calm and sensible way, as opposed to going poking somebody in the eye or punching somebody in the lip or tooting the horn with road rage, whatever that is, because that doesn't serve us as human beings. And we then fill our body with all these bad chemicals like cortisol and things like that, that creates dis-ease in the body. So awareness creates presence, which is step one. Step two is then acknowledge and engage with it. And what I do is I imagine that there is a chair next to me. I will put my fear in the chair and I will have a conversation with the fear. Notice I'm not in it. I'm engaging with it. I'm having a conversation saying, okay, fear, what's going on for me right now? You know, what am I worried about? What are the feelings that are coming up? You know, why am I experiencing fear? Your energy that I need to use for creating the things that I want. And at the moment, you're in my way. So, and then I engage with it. So those are the first 2 steps.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I was so engrossed in what you were saying. I didn't want you to stop. I didn't want you to stop. Because it's interesting that this last 6 months or so, if not a little bit longer, has been for me an extreme. I can handle a lot of stress. I am able to go through a lot of things and then just drop them along the way because that's what I do. I've had to, but I just do it naturally. But in the recent past, like 3-4 days ago, I hit a wall and things from my way past came up to me and I go, what the hell are you doing here? I thought I got rid of you or let you go, or however it works. And I observed what I was seeing, and it was like, what have I not cleared up with this? It was new. It was presented in a different way with different results and outcomes. And I'm still not clear on what it is that I have not let go of that, except the whole thing, its entire presence going, this is not anything I need in my life any longer. And thank you for showing up so I could bid you adieu. Farewell. We don't need you anymore, but thank you for showing up. And that's what I did. Otherwise, I would be a basket case and under the blanket for the next week.
Exactly right. And I love that you engaged with it, that you connected with it, and sometimes we just have to sit with it and allow it to express itself. And what I will do is I'll do automatic writing, so I'll get my journal out and I'll just write, or I'll do a meditation with it. And because I want to understand exactly what's going on. And sometimes I need to go deeper within it. But the majority of times I can clear it up and clean up. It's just feedback. And, there's, before I talk about steps 3 and 4, if you come at this negativity, say, okay, this is feedback from me to me. This is feedback from my environment to me. This is feedback from somebody else to me. That's something I'm not seeing. Maybe it's in my blind spot, something that's important. So, there's a great friend of mine called Diane Hunter. And Diane Hunter is, she's an equestrian. And I love to share this story because it was so potent for me at the time. And about 18 months ago, Diane and I were in Switzerland attending a friend's event. And she said to me, would I like to come and play with some horses? And I said, yeah, I would absolutely love to do that. And so she actually went out, found a farm that she'd never been to before with a ring and horses. And so she got in this ring, and these horses just started to dance with her. And she'd never met them before, and it was just the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. And she said, right, okay, now it's your turn. So, she did this little process with me. So I felt that I was ready. And I climbed in the ring, but I had noticed at the back of my mind that I had a bit of an attitude. And it was almost like, okay, I'm going to push. I'm going to force. These horses are going to come to me. And anyway, guess what? The horses ran away. They didn't come anywhere near me. Because horses feel energy. They read energy. There's no ego attached to horses. They're just pure energy beings. And so she said, stop. She said, what are you afraid of? And I thought, no, I'm not afraid. There's no fear there. So I did the awareness creates presence, and I noticed that it was actually guilt that was showing up. And I thought, okay, well, what's that? So I went a little bit deeper into the guilt, and I realized that about 18 months prior to that, my daughter had fallen off of a horse, and she had been dragged under the horse. The horse had trampled on her and broken her leg. And I, as her dad, I couldn't get from where I was observing to her fast enough. And I hadn't realized in that moment that there was some guilt that was coming up, some shame that was coming up. And so I went through this process, I engaged it, and I was able to release the energy. And I knew that I had released the energy around guilt and shame because the horses then came to me. And this was feedback to me. And so if things in our life are not in flow or not moving the way that we expect, we need to pause and we need to observe and we need to be aware about what's going on in our environment. But the challenge is so many times we move so quickly. How many times we have a success and we move on to the next thing? rather than actually pausing and celebrating and breathing that success in. Because, you know, and I had this with my life, in my own life. My daughter said to me once, you know, why don't we celebrate? I said, what do you mean we celebrate? She said, no. She said, you got your book coming out, you got your new events coming out, you know, you got new meditations that are coming out, and we're not celebrating any of this. We're winning new corporate clients. I thought, okay, that's really interesting. And so I actually then went back through my patterns, through my life, through my childhood, and I went to my mom and I said to my mom, I said, you know, why didn't we celebrate when I became an accountant? Or why didn't we celebrate when I became a tax specialist? Because it was like big things. It was big, significant events. And she said to me, she said, you know, the event in itself is the success. That's the celebration. So we never physically actually celebrated, you know, becoming an accountant or tax consultant or any other wins in our life. So we changed it. So now we celebrate as much as we possibly can. And sometimes I will catch myself just sometimes jumping onto the next thing. Oh, that's an old pattern. Perhaps I haven't cleared all that out enough. So I loved what you're sharing, and it's really important for the listeners to be the greatest observer in their own life and just to really pay attention to not just what's going on in their environment, external environment, what's going on in their internal environment. So, for example, my lower back, left-hand part of my lower back will often ache, or I'll experience shooting pain every now and again. It's always to do with money, relationship with money, or something to do with a corporate contract. And when that shows up, it shows up 2 to 3 months in advance of an issue or a situation. So if it's showing up 2 to 3 months in advance, you know, then that means I must be an energy being, and the divine is communicating through my body, and I need to be paying attention to that, because then I can then act in accordance with my highest good, which is step 3. And step 3 is very much taking care of ourselves, about honoring ourselves and making decisions for ourselves that are for our highest good. And if people don't like what we say or what we do, then that's their stuff. That's their journey. And we can invite people on the journey with us. You know, we can say, okay, you can rise up with me. I'm going here. You're more than welcome to come with me. But if people don't want to come, then that's okay. And because maybe they're not ready, or maybe there's things going on in their lives. But what we should not do is lower our own energy and do things out of obligation because we think we should, or do something to please somebody else because we want to avoid pain. And that's different to being of service. If we're being of service to someone, we are really high frequency and really high vibration. We want to serve that person, as opposed to, you know, taking care of ourselves because we're afraid of being hurt. And it's a really important thing to do, but it also takes courage. And this is some new work that's coming out for me around congruency. At the beginning of the year, I made a decision that by the time I got to the end of this year, every year of my life would be congruent, regardless of what I had to do to get there. And because I realized as a transformational leader that I need to be the same person on stage as I am off stage. And I also realized that there were certain areas of my life which weren't. And so as soon as I made that decision, the divine kicks in and said, okay, we can see how serious you are. But to make some of the significant changes that I'm making in my life, it takes courage. And a friend of mine years ago who works with kids on kids camps and helping kids to be great leaders in life says, okay, if you put your hands down in front of you, palms facing up, in your left hand is something that's important to you. So let's take health. So if health is important to me, so then if I look at my right hand, what will my daily behaviors be to honor health? So maybe working out, drinking plenty of water, again, meditation, plenty of rest, eating great healthy foods. And when that happens, I can put my hands together and I can clap and celebrate myself. But if I'm eating loads of McDonald's or burgers or, you know, maybe too much pizza or unhealthy food, or if I'm having too much coffee, or I'm not sleeping, staying up late watching TV, then my hands don't come together. They actually pass, and that's being incongruent. But to bring into our existence the behaviors that honor who we are takes courage to do that, because sometimes there are big decisions we need to make which other people may take personally. And so, and what people don't realize is when you make a decision for your highest good, you're automatically making a decision for other people's highest good. And, and they may not feel that way in the beginning, but certainly, down the line, they will. And, and I've experienced that time and time and time again. And so I'm just cleaning up my life. I'm having conversations with people, and, some people who I thought were friends, started to treat me poorly. And I just said, I'm sorry, my friends don't treat me that way. I'm taking my energy out of the relationship. And, and it's tough to do that. But it's interesting. The energy that's coming back to me when I make those decisions is helping me to create new things in my life, which then brings me on to step 4, which is acceleration. How can we accelerate the results in our life? How can we move quickly through these challenging times? And that's through meditation. And we are all energy. We're all energy beings. So if everybody who's listening stands in front of the mirror after this show and they look beyond their skin, they look beyond the muscles, they look beyond their organs, they look beyond their cells, they look beyond the molecules and the atoms, and then they see that they are energy beings, and we are a very high frequency. And if we're energy beings, then we are all connected as one, which means that we can attract to us and bring to us the things that we want to create in our lives. And yet we give, there's just a very small part of us, about 1% of us, or even smaller than that. It's actually 0.00000000001% of us is matter, or the ego self. And so yet we give it all of that power. And all the ego wants to do is get home and reconnect with the divine itself, because it is born and created out of the higher self. And so meditation enables us to change our energy. And when we change our energy and we connect with the divine self of who we are, then we are then in alpha or theta brainwaves, which enables us to connect to the divine and create all the things we want to create in our lives. But we need to take that into our waking state and not get caught up with the things that are around us, the things that are inside of us, or time, or things like that. So it's, we're very powerful beings. We just need to own it.
It's interesting, when you were talking about congruency, I recalled, something that I said to myself yesterday. And coming out of that interaction with the fear energy that I had earlier this week, and conversing with it and making a decision about it, I still had some changes to make today, immediately now. And I have a committee that I talk to. Some of them are spiritual beings, and there are 1 or 2 physical beings, just people. And I thought, let's just say that whatever I do from now on, what would that person do? Since that person lives, a life that is seemingly easier, different than mine, whatever. So that's what I started to do. And last night, and I started to meditate on all of this was, I guess I knew I was going to be talking to you. And this is what happened. I said, what would this person do? Every time I make a move, getting up out of bed, meditating before I get out of bed, what I'm going to eat, how I'm going to eat, how I'm going to even move my body, what would they do? And that's what I started today. So it's kind of curious. And then, but I don't know, you're saying that meditation helps one accelerate.
Yes, so go ahead.
I don't understand that.
Okay.
So if I don't understand that, some of our listeners don't understand that too.
Okay. So the reason that we experience negativity is just energy. Okay.
Right.
But we get consumed in it.
Yes.
And our energy creates our reality that we're experiencing day to day. So if we come from a stance that the thoughts, the feelings, the actions, the reactions that we're experiencing in our mind, what that does is that it creates our personality, or shapes our personality. And if it shapes our personality, then ultimately that will then go on. It will shape our reality and who we are and how we show up in life and how we interact with life. And so the fastest way to change our life is to change our energy. And so when we meditate, what I say to the people who I'm working with and I'm coaching, I'll say, what I want you to do in the morning is I want you to notice how you feel when you wake up. And if you wake up feeling anxious, or if you wake up feeling sad, or if you wake up feeling angry, or if you wake up feeling confused or whatever, you're about to take your past all the way through your day. And if you want to do that, then that's fine. But that means you're going to be living your life in automatic pilot all day. And so through meditation, when you meditate, it should change your state of mind into a state of being. It should take you from the physical self and your personality into your divine spiritual self. And so, I do this with all my coaching clients, and every day they'll send me a little record about how they felt before the meditation, how they felt afterwards. And there's always a significant change. And then it's that energy that they take into the day. And a friend of mine messages me every day. And she messaged me every day and she said, this is what I'm excited about today. And she will not get out of bed until she's connected with that excitement. My very good friend, Dr. Joe Dispenza, he will not start his day until he feels that change in his state of being in the morning. He wants to create his day, and it's through working with him and understanding his work that every day I get up and I create my day. I also then say to people at the end of the day, how do you feel before you go to sleep at night? And if you're feeling anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, anything like that from your day, you're about to go to sleep with your past. Do you want to go to sleep with your past, or do you want to change your energy? And if you change your energy, you change your life. And so you can then create, when we sleep, we're actually also in creation. And so I would prefer to go to sleep in a high state of being or high frequency than actually go to sleep with my past. And so meditation enables me to change how I'm feeling. It also heals. So through meditation, we can actually unwire the brain and rewire the brain. We can actually switch off genes that don't serve us in our body and switch on genes that do serve us. So I created a meditation called the Ego's Code meditation, which goes with my book. And the Ego's Code meditation is all about understanding the negativity we need to release for our highest good, the learning that's associated with that negativity, and then actually receiving healing of that during the meditation. And it's a very, very powerful process that people can do for themselves. And the amount of emails and messages I received from people saying, I was going through a really challenging time. And in fact, one lady in particular, she said, everything in my life was hell. Her mother wasn't very well, and her brother was being very toxic and attacking, and all these different things were happening for her. And she said the one thing that kept her sane was Ego's Code meditation. Every day, she would go in there with an intention of releasing negativity and learning from it. And every day, she woke up feeling a lot, after meditation, feeling great. So I will do the Ego's Code meditation. I'll pretty much do any meditation by Dr. Joe. I will do meditations from Tom Kenyon. I would do meditations from a lady called Sandra Bizkind, who's another friend of mine, because those meditations enable me to change my energy and change my state of being. And then my focus then is staying in that state of being as I go through my day. And the longer I can do that, those 15 hours of when I am unconscious and living on automatic pilot, then shrink to about 10 or maybe sometimes even down to 5. So then imagine what I can create in my life in that point, in that state. And I aim to be in peak performance all the time. I don't always master it. I'm still mastering myself. But meditation will enable you to accelerate the results because it can change the body energetically. If we come from a stance that we are beacons of light, and as we walk through our lives, we're sending out signals into the universe, into the quantum field, and we're attracting back to us, through the beacons of signals that we send out. So if we want to send out unconscious signals, which we don't not aware of, then carry on doing nothing. But if you want to actually consciously create the things you want to create and allow them to come to you, meditation will accelerate that.
That sounds perfect. Well, can you recap? I'm looking for number 1. I write notes, and then it's in a handwriting that is mine, but not that I can decipher it quickly. So let's go through. Just give us the list of 1, 2, 3, 4. I know we haven't covered 4, but just so we have it.
Okay, so step 1 is awareness. Awareness creates presence, because when we experience negativity, we're reliving the past or in the past. So we need to be present to create. So awareness of our negativity creates presence. So if we're angry, be aware of the anger. If you're sad, be aware of the sadness. If you're frustrated or confused, be aware of that. That's all you got to do. And then that brings you back into the moment. Then step 2 is acknowledge it and engage with it. So have a conversation with it. Express your thoughts, your feelings, your actions, your reactions. Express them. Just talk about them. Step 3 is to act in accordance with your highest good, because when you acknowledge it and you engage with it, you'll get actions that will come out of it, and then you can start to make change. And then step 4 is acceleration, which is the meditation and doing the meditations. It doesn't matter which kind of meditations. Can do mine, can do Dr. Joe's, can do Tom Kenyon's, can do Sandra's, whatever those meditations are, or just put a nice piece of music on and just go inward. Sometimes there's some girlfriends of mine who meditate by running. They love to run. They love to be out in nature and just running. And they said the clearance of the air, and the air clears their mind, and the breath, when they breathe in, and they just accelerate the oxygen in their body. They said it's just like, being in a state of meditation. So, whatever way you do it, just do it. So those are the 4 steps.
Those are perfect. Now, for those of you who are listening, if you want more information, go to Clayton's website at ClaytonJohnAinger.com. That's Clayton, Clayton, John, JohnAinger.com. I spell things because it doesn't always sound the way it reads. And what I want to ask you, Clayton, is what has been advice that has stuck with you through the years?
Wow. I think some of the best advice I had recently, I was in Morocco with a group of transformational leaders very, very, very recently. And one of my very good friends, a lady called Marcia Martin, she shared her part of her story and the 4 things that she focuses on. And she said, okay, so what am I feeling? Which is number 1. And then focus on what am I feeling, and then where is my focus? And then how do I want to feel? And what focus will support this? And so I repeat that. What am I feeling? Where is my focus in association with that feeling? How do I want to feel? And what focus will support this? And so it's really important, that combined with the 4 steps, the 4 parts that I shared, will really help people to be more present, to create the things they want to create in their life. And then you should get feedback immediately, or certainly within 24 hours, because when you change your energy, you'll change your life. And so I find that, once I start to think differently and my energy changes, then I'm getting feedback in different ways, whether it be a contract that will come in, a call from a client, or just, an invitation to go and speak, whatever those things are that I'm focusing on. And so I would invite people to do the same.
I appreciate that, and I think it's great because people spend too much time in their head only and not in their feelings or focusing on what's really important that is going on in their lives and what they really want, which is what you and I are doing in our own specific ways with everyone out there. We're trying. There are several of us out there. You are at the highest level, I imagine, and I appreciate what you're doing. I want to, again, remind people that Clayton John's book is called The Ego's Code, and I'm sure you can buy it anywhere. You can probably check it out on Amazon and or ClaytonJohnAinger.com. And you can find Clayton on Twitter at Clayton Ainger, Clayton J. Ainger. And what else? I guess that's all for now. I could probably talk with you for days, and it would go on and on and on, and we would have a good time, and I would learn more, and things would shift. But I think since the universe knew that I was talking to you today, the shift started this week. And I appreciate that, and then I'm just going to meditate more. I want to remind people to go to my website at askjoannevictoria.com. That's Joanne with an E, AskJoanne, Victoria like the Queen.com. Sign up for my email newsletter and receive a free copy of the True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. Also, I want the listeners to refer this podcast to everyone that they know, their coworkers, their family, their friends, people who are on the similar path as yours, or people who are stuck, people who are very angry, people who are into themselves and don't see a way out, because this would be extremely beneficial. Reviews are nice, but I think it's more important that people listen, not just say nice things about the episode without listening to it. So I want to thank you, Clayton John Ainger, for being here today. It's been a glorious few moments, and I look forward to another conversation.
Thank you. I really do appreciate you having me on your show. I've really, really enjoyed it. So thank you, Joanne.
Well, I thank you very much. Everybody have a great day. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Sanity Project podcast. Please go to AskJoanneVictoria.com and continue the conversation on her podcast page. And get a free copy of her book, The True Self Handbook, a guide to transform your life. That's AskJoanneVictoria.com. Take care, and thanks for being here.